Good and bad are incredibly subjective terms. What one person hates, another might heartily enjoy. But it's fair to say that if the majority of critics and most of your audience poo-poo your creative efforts, then you done goofed, son. That's not to say, of course, that we can't still enjoy these things, though. Take Tommy Wiseau's The Room as an example. On the surface, it's a badly written, poorly acted, and nonsensical piece of filmmaking. But if you stop trying to appreciate it as the piece of dramatic Oscar bait Wiseau intended, and just sit back and laugh at the utter shambles it turned out to be,
hi doggy,
then you're going to have a bloody good time. For this list then, we've combed through the video games that may as well have been crafted by Wiseau himself. These titles are absolutely awful, but at the same time, we can't help but love them. No matter how poor the story or awful the gameplay, these games have transcended their limitations and become the stuff of buggy brilliance. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 video games so bad, they're actually good. Number 10. Sneak King. It's not uncommon for us to accuse a game of being a shameless cash grab, but it's pretty rare that we come across a title whose only purpose is to literally sell us stuff. We can't be too mad though, because we here at TripleJump have praised KFC for all of their video gaming endeavours. Released in 2006 and available with the purchase of one of BK's many value meals, players take control of the eponymous King in order to sneak around and deliver food across a, no pun intended, whopping 4 levels. And that's really all that's on offer here. There is fun to be had though, from creeping about, hiding yourself, and then popping out and exposing your enormous burger meal to an unsuspecting passerby. Still, it's likely that you'll take longer to chow down your bacon double cheeseburger and fries than it will take you to actually complete the game. Receiving a pitiful 54% on Metacritic, this extended advert for coronary-inducing food will probably be forgotten to the annals of time, but it is a genuine bit of fun that will pass an hour or two while you're waiting for Deliveroo to turn up. Extra cheese, please, but hold the pickles. Number 9. Enviro-BEAR 2000. If you're a bear, like many of us here at TripleJump, you'll know what an absolute faff it is trying to gather enough food and supplies to get you through the winter months. What? Oh, are we not supposed to tell everyone that Ben and I are just grizzly bears wearing human skins? Okay, well, can we edit that bit out, please? It would probably be much easier for bears to make it through hibernation if they didn't have to manually rifle through bins and could instead collect all of the bare necessities, pun definitely intended, by stealing a car and ploughing it across a landscape. Enter Enviro-BEAR 2000. The entirety of this video game, which incidentally looks like what you'd expect to see if you went on CFAX halfway through a bad trip, is controlled only by your mouse, which wouldn't be a problem for a point-and-click adventure, but for a title that requires the player to control a car, a process that in real life usually requires between 2 and 3 appendages, it makes things nigh on impossible. Naturally though, this is where the fun lies. You may never successfully traverse the forest and make it to your cave with enough goodies to survive the winter, but you'll at least get a giggle out of accidentally filling your car with acorns, leaves, fish bones, and an angry badger before wrapping the whole thing around a tree. Number 8. Life of Black Tiger. Critics, by and large, are generally pretty spot on when it comes to reviewing video games, which is why we were so shocked to see the huge disparity between Life of Black Tiger's 1 critical review and the dozens of user scores on Metacritic. Obviously, the professional was having a particularly bad day down at the office when they described this masterpiece of modern gaming as a massive piece of hecking poop. I am paraphrasing there. All jokes aside though, Life of Black Tiger is one of the worst things we've ever subjected our PS4s to. Originally a mobile game, the title was ported to the console in 2017 with absolutely no changes or improvements made. A buggy mess that controls like a 3-wheeled supermarket trolley full of rocks, Life of Black Tiger is nothing more than an attempt to generate some extra cash off the back of a free-to-play mobile game. If you can get past the PS2 quality graphics, the horrendously depressing plot, and the repetitive gameplay, however, the poorly translated text between missions is worth a laugh, and if nothing else, you and your mates are going to have a rip-roaring time at the game's expense. If you do get the opportunity to play this, it will definitely change your life. Not for the better, but you can't have everything. Number 7. Troll and I. If Troll and I were attempting to win a round of Pointless, then a score of 39 would probably be fairly acceptable. But considering that this, its Xbox One score, is the absolute highest it garnered on Metacritic, with its PS4 and PC counterparts coming in at 33 and 27 respectively, the title really should go and take a long, hard look at itself in the mirror. Released shortly after Horizon Zero Dawn and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Troll and I was unable to shake comparisons to those open-world titles. Even more unfortunately, it wasn't a patch on either, with critics applauding its ambition, but very little else. Ultimately, the game suffers from massive amounts of unfulfilled potential, and if given a little more time and love, it could have been a great game, or, well, at least a good game, maybe? Sadly, Troll and I is relegated to the realms of ironic appreciation. Enjoyable only because it fails so hard at literally everything it tries to do. With a frame rate lower than its Metacritic score, a lackluster story, and laughably bad voice acting, at least we can enjoy Troll and I for just how amusingly and consistently it all goes wrong. Number 6. Duke Nukem Forever. Here's a pro tip for any would-be game developers. If you decide to announce an upcoming title, don't take 14 years to release the darn thing. I mean, to be fair, this game was released 14 years later, not by the team who announced it in the first place, but still, you're all culpable here. If you do take an unreasonable period of time to get a game out of the door, or insist that it will be released when it's done, you should at least make damn sure you publish something that actually lives up to the hype. I'm not saying anything about Cyberpunk 2077 here, other than the fact that I just mentioned Cyberpunk 2077, sorry. This, of course, was the reality for Duke Nukem Forever, the ill-fated 2011 main series follow-up to 1996's Duke Nukem 3D. The game was released to generally unfavourable reviews from critics and fans alike, with criticism levelled at its long loading times, clunky controls, and downright offensive humour that it probably would have gotten away with in the late 90s, as other games in the franchise demonstrate, but which just didn't wash with modern audiences. If you're able to let go of your sensibilities, and indeed some of your morals for just a moment however, Duke Nukem Forever can actually be a great bit of alien shooty fun times. Will it go down in history as a masterpiece of the first-person shooter genre? No. Absolutely not. How dare you even ask? But perhaps people will, in time, be able to forget the horrible disappointment they felt after looking forward to the game for so long, and instead enjoy the game at least a little bit for all of the squishy faces they got to blast off.
Hail to the king, baby.
Number 5. Night Trap. Over the years, we've seen many a successful title release that is arguably more film than video game, with the likes of Until Dawn giving players little to actually do, but also spinning an engaging interactive story. Sadly, 1992's Night Trap is nowhere near up to the standards of more recent offerings, and whilst the concept was at the time quite groundbreaking, the resulting game was enjoyable exclusively for the wrong reasons. But that is the thing about Night Trap, it really is so damn enjoyable. The story is fairly standard teen horror fare, with bloodthirsty vampires preying on unsuspecting sleepover attendees. The acting is campy at best,
Megan, it could be a lot worse.
and downright bad at worst.
Oh no, Miss Lisa, I can't breathe.
The actual gameplay, if you can call it that, can only be described as repetitive, With all of that said though, if you have a place in your heart for trashy 80s B-movies, then you're actually gonna have a great time with Night Trap. Fortunately for modern slasher fans, there's no need to trawl through eBay to find yourself a working Mega CD, because the game was re-released in 2017 on both PS4 and PC, and then again in 2018 on the Switch and the Vita. The rights holders absolutely knew what they were doing here, so go on, stick a bit of trash in your console of choice and enjoy. Just probably don't let your mum walk in while you're watching it, it's a bit, you know. Number 4. Garfield KART. If I were to ask you, dear viewer, what is the greatest karting game of all time, I'd expect you all to come up with the exact same answer. And if any of you said anything other than Garfield KART, well, call yourself a Monday, because I hate you. In all seriousness though, Garfield KART is not a good game by any stretch of the imagination, lambasted by critics upon release for its generally unimaginative concept, low production values, and bad design. But it's a racing game featuring Garfield. I'm not really sure what anyone was expecting, to be honest. Less fortunate titles would have simply been lost to history. However, Garfield KART ended up getting the B-movie treatment and has since been mercilessly memed all across the internet, with those pesky trolls taking to Steam to boost its score to a whopping 9 out of 10, claiming that the title has not only vastly improved players' lives, but also given them thick bushy beards and cured their appendicitis. If you're looking for a decent karting game, then you're going to want to stick to the likes of Mario Kart and Crash Team Racing. But if you want to be in on the joke, then go ahead, knock yourself out, and don't forget to leave a lovely review on Steam. Number 3. Superman: The New Adventures. Ah, see, I bet you all thought we were going to say Superman 64, didn't you? Well, the joke's on you, because Superman: The New Adventures is Superman 64. Released in 1999 for the Nintendo 64, this game's target audience tended to rate it highly. Okay, yes, the target audience was small children between the ages of 6 and 11 who'd probably barely played any other games beforehand, but poor old Superman 64 needs all the praise it can get, to be honest. The game is currently regarded as one of the worst of all time, and trust me, I do not intend to challenge that legacy. Citing difficult and unresponsive controls, huge amounts of unfulfilled potential, and the all-around rushed and careless feel of the game, critics almost universally panned Superman 64, and we can't help but feel that if there weren't so many people out there who actively enjoyed this as young kiddos, we'd be saying the same. Thanks, however, to the massive nostalgia hit we get when firing the game up, we can't quite bring ourselves to be too critical, because although all of these complaints are absolutely legitimate, this thing still makes us feel like we're 7 years old again. Sometimes it's nice to go back to a time where you had absolutely no critical faculties whatsoever. Number 2. Big Rigs Over-the-Road Racing. When you come across a game that has a score of only 8 on Metacritic, you know you're in for a fun time. Just to be absolutely clear for members of our audience who may be unfamiliar with Metacritic's scoring system, that isn't 8 out of 10, no, that's 8 out of 100. Ouch. Big Rigs Over-the-Road Racing failed to deliver on basically any of the things that make a video game, with one critic going so far as to say that it makes a sandpaper and vinegar enema sound positively delightful. Were they exaggerating? Let's just assume they were. God. Big Rigs shines through though, with everything the developers did unintentionally. Whether it's the fact that your truck is constantly glued to the floor no matter what kind of incline you go up or down, the bridge that has no collision despite being part of the intended route, the lack of any cap on your top speed when going in reverse, oh my god, or the devastatingly funny London Racer style Your Winner trophy, the entire game is a hoot from start to finish. Just in a tragic stand-up comic at an open mic night kind of way. And number 1, Ride to Hell Retribution. Most of the games on this list, and I do mean most, not all, have been somewhere on the so bad it's good spectrum, having some kind of genuine redeeming quality that keeps it from being a total train wreck. Sadly, there's no spectrum for Ride to Hell Retribution. It's all garbage all the time. Everything about this game is absolutely laughable, as we discovered in an episode of Worst Games Ever.
It's such a dangerous place to drive a helicopter. They would not do that.
I wish to be clear, unless you can find it in some severely discounted bargain bin, do not spend your hard-earned dollary dues on this game. With that said, however, if you do find it in a severely discounted bargain bin, you better grab it as quick as you can, because you are in for an experience. The game is glitchy and buggy to the point that it's nearly unplayable. The voice acting is so bad that even the cast of Hollyoaks would scoff at it, and the whole thing comes across like it's been written by a 10-year-old whose only understanding of sex, drugs, and rock and roll comes from that Jonas Brothers concert they begged their mum to take them to. All of it, though, is absolutely hilarious, and if you're of drinking age, we highly recommend slurping a few bevies with your mates as you play this and letting the laughs ensue.
His massive mouth!
It's been said that Ride to Hell Retribution is the video game equivalent of The Room, and as such, we had to put it at the top of this list. Tommy would be proud.